Hello friends, today I'm coming to you from the northwest corner of Connecticut. And for those of you viewing this film on our team of LifeChange Action down in Mexico or across the world in India, these snow-clad hills probably look sort of frigid to you. And it is kind of cold. There's a lot of ice and snow that I'm standing on right now, but the air is cool and crisp and clean and just a gentle breeze blowing through these cedar trees and white pines, maple trees covering the slope behind me. I want you to look behind me now here, and I want to show you an old fence row. Of course, it's not a typical fence row. This is a pile of field stones put together probably 200, maybe even 300 years ago. So take a look here, just a moment. So here on this snow-clad hill, you see stacks of field stones building a nice long fence row along this forest trail. I passed a schoolhouse this afternoon that was dated back to the 1700s. So for years, hundreds of years, people have settled back into these hills. This fence row of fieldstones could also date back even to the Revolutionary War era. So as I observe these old fence rows of fieldstones and think about how much history belongs in this community, it got me really thinking about the Revolutionary War era. That there was a time when soldiers traversed not too far from here, from Great Britain, and soldiers from the early American colonies here in this part of our country, and they battled against each other. No doubt families lost loved ones. Hundreds and hundreds of people lost their lives as they fought one another. A country was in upheaval. And then it got me thinking later on in our nation's history about the Civil War era and other battles and skirmishes and wars that have gone back and forth across our country. Wars with bullets and grenades even. And wars, also verbal wars. And right now, I'm feeling so much heaviness in my heart about what's going on in our country. How people are sending verbal missiles basically at each other. Missiles of hate and anger, vitriol, bitterness, deep-seated in our culture. And how should we respond to that as believers? How should we respond to that as those who are following Jesus Christ, those who are on mission with Jesus, as staff members of LifeChange Action, working to serve the needy, the children without moms and dads in Mexico and India, and those of us here stateside who are engaged in God's mission? How should we also engage our culture that is so at war right now? If you've viewed the news lately, if you've listened to the hate, if you've watched the riots, the protests, the anger spewing out from every corner of our country, you're just as concerned as I am about the state of things, about the safety of our families, about the safety of our children, about the safety of our nation, but more importantly, about what the future might hold. And so today, I'm not going to give you a big laundry list of principles or rules or laws to abide by as we engage our culture, as we seek to be gospel people on mission for Jesus in a country, in a culture filled with vitriol and hate and verbal wars right now, perhaps even impending war with other nations. But a simple truth, one simple truth today that I go back to when I get fearful about things. And this is from Psalm 104. I go back to who God is. Psalm 104 says this, "Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord, my God, you are very great." And so the Lord is not just the Lord, the transcendent, omnipotent one, but that Lord, the omnipotent, powerful God, is also my Lord. That I have this personal, loving relationship with this one who rules over all things. This psalm goes on to talk about the majesty, the magnificence of our God. It says this, "You are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a cloak, stretching out heaven like a tent curtain. He lays the beams of his upper chambers in the waters. He makes the clouds his chariot. He walks upon the wings of the wind. He makes the winds his messengers, flaming fires, his ministers. He established the earth upon its foundation so that it will not totter forever and ever. You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters were standing above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled. At the sound of your thunder they hurried away. The mountains rose, the valleys sank down to the place which you established for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass over, so that they will not return to cover the earth. The psalm continues with verse upon verse of beautiful poetry explaining how God rules over all the structures of the earth, over all created things, that he established them and he sovereignly rules over the structure of heaven and earth, over every living thing. Our God rules. And he's not just the Lord transcendent one, but also my Lord God, the one who's ever present and always with me. And he's with you right now. And so our response when things seem to be spinning out of control or in upheaval is we remember that our God sovereignly rules over all heaven and earth. And he also knows our needs, and he knows our frame, as an old poet once said. He knows that we are but dust. Yeah. He is mindful of us, and he loves us. And so our response to his majestic rule is in what we sing about, and that's the song of our souls. Music is often talked about as the language of the soul. And so after verse upon verse, in fact, 32 verses more of talking about God's majesty, this psalm ends with this: I will sing to the Lord as long as I live, that Lord who is my Lord. I will sing praise to my God while I have my being. While I am able to, I will sing. I will sing from my soul, out of the depths of my being, in praise to the God who's full of majesty, who sovereignly rules over all heaven and earth. And then this: let the meditation, my meditation, be pleasing to him. As for me, he writes, I shall be glad in the Lord. So it's what we sing about, and my meditation, what I think about, what I ruminate on day upon day, hour upon hour, even minute upon minute. I will think about and sing about the one in whom I am glad in. I am glad in this one, the Lord God, my God, who sovereignly rules over all heaven and earth. He rules over all nations, the United States of America, the nation of Mexico, the nation of India, Zimbabwe, Brazil, the United Kingdom. So here's the bottom line for today. Our God sovereignly rules over all heaven and earth. And he is, in fact, not only just the transcendent, omnipotent Lord, but he is my Lord, your Lord, if you are walking in Jesus Christ and in union with him by faith. And so that one who rules over all knows you intimately. He knows our needs, and our response to him comes from what we sing about and through what we think about, hour upon hour, day after day. So in your work, in your recreation, and in your rest today, and in all your concern about what's going on in the United States of America and in other nations across this globe, we respond first with knowing that our God sovereignly rules, and he's ruling over us. So trust in that truth today.